Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another Monday this and that video. And I know it's weird because I usually shoot those in the kitchen, but I'm going to be in here today. And if you are new, these Monday videos, just so you know right off the bat, I talk about a whole bunch of different topics. It's not a single topic video like many of the rest of mine. Part of the reason I do this is to help lead people back to older videos that I have where I already go into depth on individual topics, but also to let you know what's just going on around here in this past week, what's to come, and to answer some questions as they come in from the past week. So let's first talk about this rhubarb. So a couple years ago, I dehydrated up a bunch of rhubarb. It's not the first time. I've dehydrated rhubarb before. And one thing I've talked about before is that you can dehydrate rhubarb, and I find it best to not blanch it. Just put it on the trays raw, dehydrate it up until it's fully dry. It dries up beautifully, and it does cook up nice and will soften all the way through when you cook it. However, I had an idea, just like with my zucchini and some other things that I've tried powdering up. I decided to go ahead and powder some up because here we don't eat a lot of rhubarb in things, and though I don't usually mind the texture, sometimes there's just certain things I wouldn't mind having that tart flavor in, but I don't like the texture of the rhubarb even when it's fully cooked. And so I decided to go ahead and powder some up because this is going to do two things. It's going to help save space because right here, this doesn't even, I don't have it vacuum sealed yet because I'm not done. I still have room, I can put a little bit more, but in this half pint jar is one full pint that looked just like this of dehydrated rhubarb. So already when it's dehydrated, you can fit quite a few stalks of rhubarb in here. You're going to save a lot of room in your freezer by dehydrating it, but then by powdering it and using it to flavor things, you're going to take up even less space. So half the amount of space of dehydrated. So my thought is this would be something that would be great to add to jams, jellies, pies, any kind of dessert, anything where you're needing that tartness, especially if you live in an area like we do where you can't grow citrus. I expect there's going to come a point where we're unable to get citrus at all. So having an option to add tartness to things where we need that flavor is going to be really helpful. So we do have a quince tree, so I have that too, but rhubarb grows really, really well for us. So I decided I'm going to start doing this, maybe not with all. I'll probably still keep some like this, but not only will this be easy to add to things, it's just as is, it takes up so much less space. And I find that I actually use the apple powder in things a lot more than I do the dehydrated apple slices I have. So you can do the same thing with apple powder. I've added it to various things, mostly pancakes and to oatmeal when it comes to the apples. Zucchini powder I've done similar stuff with. I've added it to breads to just get more of that nutrition in there. And I've also powdered up other fruits like freeze-dried fruits that I've purchased, like pineapple and other things we can't grow here. And those I can powder up and use to flavor icings and so much more. Just like I did in the video I did on the pineapple coconut banana bread, where I used the freeze-dried pineapple powdered up to flavor the icing that went on top of that bread. And I've done that with strawberries, as in the strawberry banana bread, and a whole bunch of other things. Oh yes, and the raspberry rolls that I made, I've used freeze-dried raspberries powdered up. So you can do a lot with powders and they take up a lot less room, but I do recommend you go back and watch my video on before you powder all your goods, some things that you should know. I'm going to link to that down below because not everything should be powdered, and if it is, you want to be very specific on how you store it. For example, I do not powder up my tomatoes. I just blend them up, I dehydrate them in a sheet and then just flake them up and then store them in the jar that way. Yes, they'll take up less room if powdered, but I go in the details in that video as to why. So don't forget to click on either show more right down here below my channel name, or if you're on a smart device, that little gray arrow right over here to open up the description box to find the link to that video and other videos I'll be linking to down below, and other various links I'll be putting down below. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was lavender leaves. I think it was last weekend I put a picture of what I was dehydrating that day, and I think I had lemon balm and lavender leaves and valerian leaves and thyme and maybe something else. So I had a couple questions coming in on lavender leaves and valerian leaves. Now I have videos on both, the one that goes way back on lavender leaves and using them, and then another one on valerian in general, using the leaves, the root, the flowers. I'll link to both of those down below. But I wanted to mention the lavender leaves and the fact that I actually use lavender leaves more than I do the flowers. I combine the leaves with the flowers when I'm using it in an infused oil, because I strongly believe the leaves have similar, if not the same, benefits as the flower. And then lavender leaves are also great used fresh in salads and more. I love the flavor of them. I don't like the flavor of a lavender flower. I like the scent, not the flavor, but the leaves have a nice flavor and a very nice scent, and can also be used, though I don't think it tastes like rosemary. Some people use it as a rosemary replacement, but it is a nice seasoning to add. I actually like mixing it with fresh thyme when I add it to salads, or even to like noodles. Like maybe I'm going to make up some pasta, sprinkle a little, put some butter and salt, and sprinkle on a little bit of fresh lavender leaves and thyme leaves every now and then. I just really, really love that. It's so good. So anyway, don't forget to check out those videos. But yes, you can use those lavender leaves. And the valerian leaves, I'll eat those fresh sometimes if I just need to calm down, you know, if I'm feeling really anxious, stressed out, or I have any kind of muscle pain especially, I'll just go out and eat fresh valerian leaves as they're coming in. They have much better flavor and aroma than the root does. They're a lot more mild. I also add them to my pain extract, to my pain tincture. I have a new video on that, by the way, coming out in a few weeks. I just got it made up and edited because I'm always changing my recipe and I'm liking this one best of all the extracts I've made for pain. There's many different options to deal with pain and inflammation, and I have a video just on that too. So I'll link to that one down below, but you can watch for the updated pain remedy recipe coming down the road. All right, now let me talk a little bit about the Butcher Box. So if you watched my video last week, I mentioned how I just signed up for Butcher Box. It just came in yesterday, my first box, and I am very pleased. Everything looks great in there, and it was packed wonderfully. Everything in there was still frozen solid. So I haven't tried anything yet because I just got it yesterday. I'm cooking up the roast I got today, so and I'll be working through the various meats in there so I can give you an update down the road on what I think about it. But right off the bat, I like the packaging. I like the fact that everything was frozen solid, and I like the way everything looks. Now, all the meats they sell, no hormones, no antibiotics. They're raised humanely. The beef is all grass-fed and grass-finished. And so this is one of the things that really sold me on it. I think price per pound, it turns out to be a pretty good deal for us anyway. It may not be the case for everyone, but when you sign up, just like I did, you can get, and I'll put the link to it down below, as long as you have that membership, every time you have an order that comes in, you'll get 2 pounds of the ground beef for free. That's part of your membership. And also that helps us too, because it's a referral link, so we get like $30 off our next order when you do that, and that's pretty good. And know that you can do the same thing. You can share that referral link with friends and family, and when they sign up, you get $30. But the thing I really want to talk about now, I'll do an update on their product later, but is the packaging. I'm actually much happier with their packaging than Misfits. Misfits tries to do pretty good with their packaging, but they're always changing it up, and I still end up with like too many ice packs and things that can just go to waste. And I did contact them, by the way, and just this morning to see if they're going to set up some kind of program where they'll at least take back the ice packs. A lot of the other stuff, like the boxes and the packing material, we reuse. We use that stuff to ship off the chambers and other things that we sell. But here was what I liked about this, is that it only came with 2 ice packs, and you'll see these are empty because they used dry ice. And so they only needed 2 of them, and it kept everything in there frozen solid. And then the whole box is very well insulated, and everything else is paper, some kind of paper or recycled fabric like this. And these are perfect. This is actually half of this. This was what went around the whole inside edge of the box. And this is only half of it because right here, this is actually the perfect size to use to wrap our larger half-gallon chambers in to keep them well protected. It fits perfectly height-wise and around when I cut this in half. So here's a picture of the half-gallon chamber wrapped up and ready to go in the box and ship. Then they have, for the top and the bottom, they have a little box like this that has this material in it, which is the same stuff, and I cut this into thirds, and I can pack this alongside the quart chambers and give that little extra padding in there to keep it from bouncing around in the box. And then, as you can see in that quart chamber picture, that we use the cardboard from the boxes. That's what we use to wrap around the chamber to help protect it, and especially to protect the port so that it doesn't get broken off in shipment. And so we can reuse all that stuff. So the only possible stuff we end up with are these little smaller pieces of plastic. It would still be better to not have to deal with this, but at least that's less waste than what I get through Misfits. I still love Misfits, but I know one thing for sure, I'm going to be getting all my meats now from Butcher Box rather than from Misfits. I'll still be doing Misfits for produce and some dry goods and the dairies that they carry as well. And then any cardboard that we can't use for shipping, we just use that to heat the house. We just burn it up. So there's no waste there, because you'll be surprised at how much heat burning cardboard can add. It does make a lot of ash. However, the ash also gets recycled and goes into the garden too. So we make the most out of all that stuff and try to eliminate as much waste as possible. And while I'm at it with the half-gallon chamber, I did have, even though I told people this before, some people coming in new don't realize that we have the quart chamber. We've been selling that for years. A lot of people had started asking us years ago about the half-gallon chamber, and when we first looked into it, we knew we were going to have to charge at least twice as much, and initially thought we'd have to charge 3 times as much for the half-gallon chamber, because some of the parts were literally 3 times as much to purchase. And so it took us a long time before we got to a point where we even thought about offering it, because we weren't sure if people would be willing to pay that much for it, because we knew it was going to be expensive. So some people come in and they expect the half gallon to only be maybe $10, $20 more, not twice as much. And the reason why is because it costs at least twice as much for us to make those. So if we don't charge that much, then it's not worth it for us to make them, because we don't earn anything for the time that Patrick puts into making those, because he does put time into that. And you know, a lot of people don't consider all the things that go into that. He cuts the pipe, he sands the ends of the pipe so there's no rough edges, there's glue involved, there's the cap, there's the lid, that's the most expensive part, and then there's the port and the time to do all this stuff. But we have sold quite a few of those half-gallon chambers. I've actually been surprised that people were willing to buy that. A lot of people have bought both the half-gallon and the quart. And the nice thing about that is when they do, the quart chamber fits perfectly. We wrap it up too with the cardboard, then slip that down inside the half-gallon chamber, and they can ship together in one box. The only unfortunate thing is sometimes people don't think to look inside the chamber for the other things that they've ordered. So make sure, if you're ordering from us and you order a chamber with other stuff, always look inside the chamber. Most likely you'll find your seeds, your adapter hoses, your generators, or whatever else you ordered, skin cream, inside that chamber, because it just makes everything pack nice and neat inside a box that way, and there's nothing flopping around in the box. Now let me talk a little bit about soap making. So some of you saw my post in, again, the community section I put out on the recent batch of soap I made. In this one, because I was still trying to work through a bucket of lard that I bought only for soap making, I made it just out of lard, water, and lye. And then I decided, I'm going to go ahead and add some peppermint and vanilla oil to it just to make it smell nice, because I just felt like it. But really all you need to make soap is fat, water, lye. And if you're making your own lye from wood ash, then you just need, it's already in a liquid form, so you just need lye and fat. Those are the 2 things that are needed to make soap. And no, you cannot make soap without lye. All soap is made with lye. That's just the way it is. But you have to understand that once the lye and the fat are combined and they have a chance to cure, they're no longer fat and lye, they are now soap, and now it is safe to use on your skin. So safety precautions when you're using lye like this, yes. Once it's in soap and once it's cured, even just for a few days, it's ready. I mean, you can actually touch the soap very next day. It's just not really going to be soap. It's still going to feel fatty and greasy. So I press my soap out the next day so that, and then allow it to cure. But one of the main reasons I brought this up is that I have a whole series on soap making. The first video goes back to 2016. And then some different recipes I came up along the way. The first one is just a simple herbal soap, no essential oils, just some herbs I grew in the garden that I threw in there. The other recipes are all herbal ones as well, but it involves using different essential oils and maybe some oats and maybe some bentonite clay and colloidal silver and so on. So I'll put the whole playlist down below. When I first started making soap some years back, I think it's been about 8 years, I was using the fancier lye, the red crown lye, but I found that you can just go down to your hardware section and find lye. As long as it says 100% lye, you can use it for soap making. And this ended up being the better deal going with this. So, and it's usually easier for us to come by. So this is all I use now in making my soap, is just the same lye that you would use to clean out your drains. As long as it's 100% lye, you can use it. It doesn't have to be a special fancy lye that's made just for soap making. It's all the same. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that I only recently learned about the formula shortage and how a lot of parents are struggling. There's a lot of people out there that cannot nurse their children for various reasons. So I think we need to be careful about judging people and saying, hey, why don't you go with the free method? Well, sometimes there's situations where it just can't happen. So we got to be careful about judging people who aren't able to go with the natural method. But even so, it's still good to get away from that store-bought formula and learn the old-fashioned ways of doing it or the more modern natural ways of doing it. So two of the most old-fashioned ways was goat milk, raw goat milk, because goat milk is much easier for babies to digest, or even evaporated milk, the kind you buy in the store, not the homemade kind. And the reason why is because the fats, that's usually the hardest part in cow milk for babies to break down, are all broken down, or the proteins, whatever. Anyway, they're all broken down in that process of making and then canning that evaporated milk. And that was the most common thing that doctors would recommend. So there's that option, there's the goat milk, and then there's also options to just make your own baby formula. And so one site that I find is very reliable, I haven't actually had time to read much on her site in a long time, but if I really am looking for something specific, I almost always know I can find it there, and that is Kate at Wellness Mama. So I'll put her link down below. In fact, what I'm going to link you to is specifically a blog that she has out about formulas, about different natural kinds that you can buy, but also, I mean, since there's a shortage, how you can make your own and make it a little more wholesome anyway and healthy than the kind that you could buy in the store. So I wanted to put that out there, and I know there's other ones out there. If you just do some research, you can find all kinds out there. So just do your own research, but you can start with that link I'll be putting in the description box down below. And I'm not doing still not doing a lot of garden updates because there hasn't been, other than the perennials that are growing and doing well, I haven't been able to do much because it's still very cold and wetter than what is normal for this time of year for us. Usually we still have rain, but it's usually slowed down quite a bit and we can start tilling the areas that need to be tilled. We don't till all the areas, but there are a couple areas that we still need to till. And we can't do that because it's nothing but a big mud hole right now. And my hole, in fact, is pouring down rain right now. Everything is a mud hole. It's terrible. So I haven't been able to do a lot, but I hope to be doing some garden updates soon. The things in the front garden are actually doing pretty good. All my perennials are doing great. The potatoes are looking great. But anything that's an annual, no. Very little of it is doing well right now. So down the road, I'll be doing, I hope to be doing garden updates, and they'll be in here. But if you have anything you'd like to share, what's going on in your garden, what kind of things are you dehydrating, canning, putting up in any way, or any other thoughts you have, like on the baby formula and stuff that you would like to share with others, put those down below so everybody can learn from you as well. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.